Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Carissa Herrera, Google Industry Manager, and I'll be your host this morning. Now, more than ever, as businesses are being challenged and behaviors are quickly shifting, it is vital for organizations to match the unprecedented velocity of change we are all experiencing. And as we continue on the path towards a 2021 recovery, and in anticipation of heightened consumer expectations in the digital space, we've put together this UX event where we will be sharing insights, inspiration, and some actionable solutions specific to the financial services category that can help us identify the next steps to take that can help us build towards improved user experiences for your brands. Joining us today are Bhavna Taneja, Google's head of mobile transformation in Southeast Asia. Bhavna carries with her over 15 years of experience in UX design, having worked with different digital agencies, consultancy businesses, and technology companies, and is very passionate about creating results driven, frictionless, and memorable digital experiences. Joining us as well is Hadian Andika, our web ecosystem consultant for Southeast Asia. Hadian is a software engineering and web development veteran and will be responsible for answering any technical related questions that you may have in our Q&A later on. So today, we will be centering our discussion on user experience in three key areas. First, we recognize the importance of building our mobile and web strategies due to some emerging trends we're seeing in the area of digital financial services. And with that, we then zoom into the importance of mobile web and speed, and we conclude our last section on focusing on specific best practices that we are seeing in the industry and how we can best leverage these for our brands moving forward. As we go through today's material, please submit any questions you may have via the link provided in our event invite. And at the end of our session, our speakers will be addressing the queries that you may have through a brief Q&A. So without further ado, let's begin. We are living in such a historic moment at present, and the word unprecedented has been used so much in relation to the situation we're currently in, and rightfully so. A lot of decisions we've had to make over the past months have really indeed been very different and have had to happen at a much faster pace than any of us could have ever imagined, involving areas of our business that may not have been part of our plans for the year. On this slide, we particularly focus on mobility trends observed over the third quarter of 2020. And indeed, our business as usual was the kind brought about by innovations. But we've experienced firsthand that other forces, like the crisis we're in, can also significantly increase that velocity of change, and one that can really trigger lasting impact across practically every industry, and financial services, which underpin much of our daily lives, is not exempt to this. It is therefore very important to recognize these changes in the area of finance as well. And as we prepare for 2021, for us to be able to make the right decisions that will impact our future, we need to be able to identify the different signals from these three different key states that we've observed. So these include shock, which is a state of anxiety, step change, which is an adjustment state, and speed up, characterized really by that state of acceleration. So as we move from shock to speed up, the opportunities become more sustained in the longer term. And I'll be sharing a little bit more with you on that in the succeeding slides. So during the shock state, which is really characterized by that initial panic consumers felt very early on in the pandemic, what we saw was an increase in searches around emergency loans, really reflective of that need expressed by the public very early on in the face of truly unprecedented uncertainty in the country. However, as we move forward, and as people started to adjust with what the crisis brought to the situation, really, people tried doing things from home, such as financial transactions, which have really enabled more people to safely purchase goods and services, pay their bills, transfer money, and even save money in the comforts of their own homes, sometimes even without a bank account. So just to highlight here as well, that potential opportunity that we have from the truly underbanked and unbanked segments as well, that we've seen on board to these different digital platforms today. And during the state of speed up, so the state of acceleration, we see behavior that is more likely to be sustained even post the pandemic period. And we see that more and more with people shifting not just essentials, but also non-essentials and purchasing these things online through the likes of different e-commerce players. And when the rules allowed for non-essential deliveries to take place again and to resume in the country, we really saw that surge in online shopping from the biggest e-commerce players. So we've actually found that this indeed truly has lasting impact, with 64% of Filipino respondents actually citing that this digital behavior, and particularly payments through digital financial services, will continue even post-pandemic, even post-lockdown in the country. So GSMA reports actually predict that there will be around 90 million Filipinos online by the year 2025, and that the internet economy will increase fourfold by then. And so at this point, we ask ourselves, how are we also really preparing for a bigger internet economy brought about not just by fast-growing 4G and smartphone connectivity, but by heightened consumer expectations as well, as more and more people experience and as more and more people experience and are exposed to amazing digital user experience across various areas of their lives, from food delivery to entertainment to financial services. However, even with this notable shift, we see that some of these key barriers still remain in the areas of customer support, ease of use, and in utilizing new services. And these are some of the things we wish to highlight today, and things that we should prepare for as well as we enable ourselves for this digital economy as we move forward in 2021. And before I end my segment, allow me to leave you with these three thought starters. So with everything that we've seen over the past months, how can we therefore be part of reimagining that story for finance? What if banks implemented online versions of traditional banking experiences? What if the Filipino path to purchase increasingly becomes digital? And what if digital consumer expectations really continue to heighten? And hopefully, as we go through today's content, these are some of the things we wish to inspire as we prepare and move forward in 2021. With that, I hand you over to Bhavna. Hi, Bhavna.
Thanks, Carissa. Before we talk about speed and UX, let's first understand the importance of mobile web. As per the latest Southeast Asia Economy Report, we know that internet users in Southeast Asia have grown by more than 40 million in just the last 1 year. This pace is 2 times of what we saw between 2015 and 2019. We also see from this report that during this year, the hours spent online spiked across the countries in Southeast Asia. In fact, Philippines recorded the highest spike. When we did an analysis of which platform where the users were online, mobile emerged to be the top. Consumers are more curious, demanding, and impatient than ever. That is why delivering a fast and seamless mobile experience is key to business growth and customer retention. So how do we become great at mobile? It's about 2 areas. The first one is speed and delivering a fast experience. And the second one is user experience on the page. It has to be seamless without any friction. With that, let me hand it over to Hadian to talk about speed.
Thanks, Bhavna. Hi, everyone. Before we start diving into speed, let me show you a video to give you an example of how this impacts the customer.
You make no sense. You make no sense.
Hello.
You make no sense. You make no sense. Say you make no sense at all. I said you make no sense at all.
How did you feel about that? I can really relate to some of these. I'm sure you can relate to some of them as well. Now let's take a look at why does focusing on speed matter. Brands make great ads and spend time on the right targeting. But it's not enough to stop there. You need to ensure that the post-click experience is also great. However, majority of the current landing pages do not load quickly enough. And if you're wondering why should landing pages load quickly enough, it's because speed equal to better UX for users, and at the same time, speed equals to revenue for advertisers. We will expand on the revenue point in the next few slides. These are the most important points. If there's anything you're taking away from this speed section, I hope you can take away these 2 points. Let's talk about speed equals to better UX. A landing page actually only has 100 milliseconds to make the most delightful impression. As the load speed increases, users will start to lose focus. And when we get to beyond 10 seconds, they will get frustrated and will likely abandon the page. Unfortunately, when we look at the data, a mobile page on average takes 15 seconds to load, according to the Google Deloitte study that was conducted last year. This is a really bad UX for the users. Now, the good news is if slow sites equal to frustrated users, then the opposite is also true. Fast sites equals to happy users and businesses. Based on the recent speed study by Deloitte involving 30 million user sessions and various industry verticals, they concluded that improving speed decreased bounce rates across the funnel. Not just the landing page, but across the funnel. This is great for the users because it shows better user engagement. As for the businesses, because those metrics translates to more revenue. Now remember the 2 important points that we saw earlier on speed equals to revenue. Improvement on these metrics are the explanation on the relationship between speed and revenue. I want to show you some real examples from finance verticals, brands who have proven the speed study that we've seen in the previous slide to be true. TransUnion, a consumer credit reporting agency in the States. They optimized their whole site to be almost 4.5 times faster. As a result, they saw a 26% lower bounce rate and users spending 2.5 times the amount of time on the site. And the second example, Advance Create, the biggest insurance comparison website in Japan. They optimize key landing pages by making them responsive and load 61% faster on average. This resulted in 29% better conversion on their site. Overall, these are 2 examples of how speed can help user engagement and revenue. All this data on speed makes Google take mobile experiences very seriously, which is why page speed is considered as a ranking factor for organic search. So if your mobile page is chronically slow, it will impact your organic ranking on Google search. Okay, now that we have seen the importance of speed, how can you plan and take the first step? There is a tool called Test My Site that makes it easy to test your site speed. You can access this tool through the short URL g.co/testmysite. Unlike many speed testing tools that can be very technical, this is a great tool for non-technical audience, executives, and decision makers. You can get several insights from this tool: the benchmark against competitors, quick wins that you can implement, and you can produce an actionable report that you can send across your company. Now let's take a look at this tool in action. When you land on Test My Site, you will find the field to enter your site's domain. Once you hit enter, the very first section will show how many seconds it takes real users to load your mobile site. And the indicated load time is for users who are accessing your domain from the location that you can select and change if your site is frequently visited by users from different countries. If users visit your site with different connection type, whether it's 4G or 3G, you can also select connection type and see the different load time. The tool then assigns a slow, medium, fast rating and inform you on the threshold of that rating. Beside the rating, you will see your domain speed trend compared to last month's data. On the next section, you will be able to enter your competitor's URL and benchmark your site against theirs. This is when loaded from the same location and the same connection type that you have selected earlier. Further down below the tool, it then points out some quick wins that you can implement to improve your site speed. I'd like to point out that these quick wins are the top recommendations across all pages in your domain. Now, if you have concern over a specific page on your domain, in this section, you can enter that page URL and get the quick wins for that page, just in case it has a different set of speed issues. Finally, the last part of the tool is where you can generate a PDF of this report and email it to, say, the tech team in your company. And then you can start speed discussion with them afterwards. Now that you know how your site is currently performing in a standalone context and also in comparison to your competitors, the second step is to implement the quick wins from the tool. There are often misperceptions that improving speed takes a huge effort, while in fact, there is only one simple guiding principle for speed optimization. You need to ensure that you are only sending the necessary content to your users. Our biggest offender here are the images. Images are still the #1 bloat on the web, on average accounting for 60% of page size. So you may be able to speed up your site by just optimizing the images and how they are loaded. You can also start small by implementing the quick wins on your high impact pages. You can use the mobile speed score report on your Google Ads or look at your analytics data to identify those pages. To conclude the speed section, I would like to come back to the two important points that speed equals to better UX for users and speed equals to revenue for advertisers. I hope that the data, examples, and tools which I shared will help you build a better case to get started on speed. With that, I would like to hand it back to Bhavna to talk about UX.
Thanks, Hadian. As we had indicated, the second optimization area to offer a seamless mobile experience is UX itself. As a consumer, when I'm shopping on my mobile and I get all the way to checkout and realize I have to manually fill up 15 fields in a form, I usually abandon my cart. I expected things to be seamless, and I know there are brands offering seamless experiences. Based on research, sites which offer a good user experience have over 200% higher conversion rates compared to the site with an average user experience. With that, Let's look at an online experience on the web and understand how we can make it better. A user typically lands on your website page from search. They mostly reach a landing page and then they navigate the site to look for information and finally purchase what they need. If we have to define components of a good user experience, there are four. The first one is findability. How quickly and effectively can users find information on your site? The second is product pages. How clear is your presentation of products and call to actions? The third is registration and conversion. Is the purchase process simple and safe? And the last one is mobile design. How does the website look and work on mobile? With that, let's look at some brands and see which do well on each of these. One example of a brand which does well on findability is MeBank. MeBank's on-site search experience is excellent. The search button is always easy to find, and results are organized and easily scannable. For product pages, KBC Bank present key information in a clear and scannable way, with a prominent call to action that follows the user as they scroll up and down. On registration and conversion, Allianz has created a simple and easy to fill application form that displays real-time errors and allows the user to go back to the previous step without losing any data. And lastly, on mobile design, NTUC Inco makes a site feel easy to use by avoiding visual clutter, using large touch targets, and labeling icons. So a quick recap of what we covered today. We started with finance insights and online behavior post-COVID. We then spoke about the importance of speed and tools and resources. We then touched upon UX best practices. Now, before I hand this over to Carissa for Q&A, just two important things. The first one, please reach out to your Google rep to understand how we can help. And the second one is to refer to resources that we shared on speed and UX in this presentation. And with that, let me pass it over to Carissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna, and thank you, Hadian, for this morning's very informative presentation, which we hope are helpful to your brands as we zoom in on user experience today. So at this point in today's program, we will be taking a quick 10-minute break to give you time to input any of the questions you may have surrounding any of the topics shared today. You may do this by clicking on the link provided for our Q&A in the event invite for today's session. After the quick break, we will see you back here again for our live Q&A, where we aim to address any of the questions you may have regarding our discussion this morning. So thank you, and I do hope to see you all back here in just a few minutes. Indeed, we are seeing a lot of interest in these solutions, with many already asking how to get started. But before we jump into that, allow us to respond to some of your other questions, which we've received. And thank you to all of those that have been sending in your questions. A lot of really good ones from what we're seeing so far. Due to the limited time we have left, however, we will be responding to just a few for today's session. Rest assured, we will take note of all your questions and be sure to follow through with you and your teams after the event. So with that, let's get started. And our first question reads, now that we are nearing the end of lockdown, we are expecting footfall in branches to return. Will our mobile strategy still be a key area for 2021 and something that should be prioritized by the bank? So really good question. And I think I will take this one on. So thanks for this question, and something I think that is most likely top of mind for a lot of us as we plan for 2021. And to begin answering this, allow me to reference some data points from the recently released economy report just a few weeks ago, which highlight that sustained shift to digital, with actually 95% of Filipinos expressing that they will continue to utilize digital services even post-lockdown, so even post-GCQ. Given this, it is definitely high time that we prepare for this sustained and permanent shift to digital as we plan ahead. If it was simply a matter of being online before, today, with continued exposure to digital, user experience has never been more critical, and one that we expect actually to heighten, in expectation, even in the coming months. This is one of the main considerations as well expressed by a lot of Filipinos in making that shift to digital, along with real-time money transfer and notifications and step-by-step guides or tutorials. So definitely building good user experience in our digital platforms further emphasizes the bank's reliability and trustworthiness. Of course, two of the main considerations, especially when talking and dealing with financial services. So definitely something to prioritize in the coming years and something to plan forward for in 2021. So I hope that answers that question. Our next question actually reads, our site is very slow because of the images, but those are crucial to our branding. Where do we start optimizing? Is there any other elements that may be causing slow loading speeds? So I think for this question, the best resource that we have would be Hadian. Hadian, care to take this one on?
Sure. Thanks, Carissa. We need to acknowledge that images are crucial for many sites. So this is a great question. Remember in the speed section, we talked about the most important guiding principle to optimize your site for speed, which is to only send the necessary. So this doesn't mean that you cannot use images or avoid them at all costs, but it just means when you send the images, please bear in mind to only send what is needed for the users. This involves avoiding to send very large desktop images to your mobile users. That will be unnecessary because their mobile browsers will resize it and only display the very small size image anyway. Also, when you send the images, make sure they are compressed and use the most optimized format that is supported by the majority of modern browsers, formats like WebP or Progressive JPEG. After that, you can also employ techniques like leveraging the browser cache or making use of a CDN or image CDN. And also there is a technique called lazy loading. This means we do not send unnecessarily the images at the bottom of the page that we do not know yet whether the users will want to see them or not. But leave it for the users to explicitly scroll down, and at that point, we send the images to them. So those are the things that you can do on the image. And on the other areas that might be causing slowness, this is also a great point. And with the same only send the necessary principle, we can deep dive into JavaScript, the bloated CSS, and longer term strategy. So I would strongly advise to start looking at the images and start there. Okay, so for our next question, it asks, if we have an app that works well, is it still important to optimize for mobile web? What should I prioritize for my business, a website or an app? I think this is a perfect question for Bafna. Bafna, would you like to take this one?
Sure, Hadian, happy to take this one on. That's a really good and important question. Before we look at web versus app, let us think about the marketing funnel. On the top of the funnel is awareness, we then have consideration, and lastly, we've got conversion. A website is a tool for awareness or discovery of the products and services. Once a user becomes a customer and a loyal customer, they will install your app and use it regularly. To simplify your answer, both are important, but if you have to focus on one thing, focus on a website first. And we also have another question. How do I start? I can also take this one. The way to begin is to first use the tools and resources to check your site speed. Also visit the UX best practices website, Masterful Mobile, and see how you're doing on findability, product design, conversion, and mobile design. Finally, once you have evaluated where you stand, you can reach out to your Google account rep to understand how you can engage with us.
Thank you, Bhavna, and thank you, Hadian, for taking on those questions. That wraps up our session for today, and we hope that this session has been insightful and actionable for you and your teams. If you're keen to learn more about the solutions shared today, please don't hesitate in reaching out to any of your Google representatives. We look forward to making these strategies a reality as we move forward and plan for 2021. Thank you, and have a great Friday ahead.